Hi, and welcome to the first episode of the Frankly Flowers podcast. I'm your host, Maddie Flowers, and yes, that is my real last name, but this podcast is about so much more than just me. I made the Frankly Flowers podcast to create space for people, to be honest, vulnerable, raw, and real. Kind of like your big sister, your best friend, or maybe that girl you've admired from afar and finally have a coffee date with. If you're new here, well, we're all new here. This podcast is for the creatives, the doers, the hot messes, and the people in their 20s just trying to figure it out. Thank you so much for being here first. And I just want to say you were already on a list of my favorite people because you're supporting another one of my crazy ventures. So welcome to the Frankly Flowers podcast. Let's get into it. So if this podcast isn't all about me, then what is it about? Let me tell you, we're going to be diving into all sorts of topics. And honestly, I think I'm just going to let the topics take me as life takes me, and we'll see as we go. But some things I know right off the bat, we're going to be talking about business, entrepreneurship, how I chose my major, figuring it out, and struggles of going to college. I'm going to be giving advice to freshmen. We're also going to be interviewing some of the coolest women I know. And we're going to have some solo debrief, unfiltered talk it out sessions where you guys and me just talk it out about advice, different things I've learned along the way, my tips to you, and hopefully you guys can give me some advice too. My ultimate goal is to have this podcast feel like a permission slip to not have it all figured out, but to still show up, do your best, and laugh a lot along the way because we're all living and learning for the first time, and we should all just have a little bit more grace with each other. In order for you to really understand what this podcast is going to be about, I need you to understand the word that I based my entire podcast on. And that word is sonder. I don't know if you've ever heard it before. Most people haven't. I heard it randomly a while back because one of my friends got it tattooed on them. But essentially, it means the realization that you come to when you realize that every random person passing by you is living a life as vivid and complex as your own. So think about all the people you know, all the relationships you have, all the routines and day-to-day things you do, all the interactions you have. And think about every single person you pass in a day has just as many complex interactions and things happening. And that concept really baffled me and really enamored me for a long time. And that's really what I wanted to base this podcast on, is the idea of sonder. And you're probably wondering how that plays into this. So I'm going to get into that. Basically, sonder is a noun. So it just means coming to that realization. And once you've come to that realization, you can adjust your way of living and your way of thinking. So now that I've come to that realization, I want to help all of you do the same so that you can live a more fulfilling and enriched life. That feeling that I'm talking about of realizing that everyone out there has their own struggles, heartbreaks, memories, loves, losses, that feeling is the heartbeat of this entire podcast. And I feel like for you to really understand the goal of this podcast and to really take something away, you have to understand sonder and you have to understand the deep significance it holds, especially in a reality today where people are very quick to be rude to each other, to brush each other off, to not take a second glance at another. And I think that we should really take a second and consider that you never know what someone's going through. And people say that a lot, but I think the concept of sonder really brings it home and really reiterates the fact that everyone is going through something so different and you don't know. Because think about all the things you're going through that you don't tell people. As far as sonder in this podcast, I really want to use this opportunity to interview people. I'm going to sit down with friends, family, strangers, students, entrepreneurs, anybody who has a story to tell, which is everybody. And we're going to learn their story and learn the small, surprising things that connect us, which you wouldn't realize, but every single person has something about them that connects you guys. And if you were to sit and listen, truly listen, not just pretend listen while you scroll on your phone, but like actually sit there and listen to what they have to say and ask questions and engage with them, you might realize that we're all really not that different and that all the hate in the world is really weird because we're all the same and we all come from the same place. When we listen, we realize that everybody wants to feel seen, understood, heard, and inspired. Frankly Flowers is about celebrating the individuality in everyone's story while finding those common threads that connect us within. You'll laugh, reflect, and maybe see some of yourself in someone else's story. And that's the magic of sonder and what this podcast is all about. Okay, so now I feel like we need to answer the number one question anybody gets asked when they start a podcast. Why? And why now? So first and foremost, I've always really loved creating. That's something I've always done since I was little. I've had a history of it. I've always really enjoyed it. I make videos to celebrate big events in my life, and I love to use TikTok and edit videos. And that's always been something that brings me a lot of joy. So honestly, I've always thought about starting a podcast, more especially in the last like 3 or so years since I got to like senior year of high school. But I never, one, had the balls, two, had the confidence, and three, had the mindset of doing it in the right way, if that makes sense. So like, I think there's a mindset of doing it like, oh, I'm going to make a podcast to make money and go viral, and I'm going to do this and that. And yeah, that's the goal, obviously. If you make money, then that's cool. But I now have the mindset of I'm creating this podcast for me as a video diary of my life because I think I'm cool as shit. And I think I've done a lot of stuff that I want my kids to be able to hear about, and I want my kids to hear the stories of. And in 30 years, I'm not going to be able to tell these stories the way I'm telling them now at 20 because they just happened. And so for me, my intentions with this is really personal. It's that I want a place to put these stories out there and share with the world because I wish someone had done that before. So I had that as guidance when I was starting my business and when I was going into college. I think there's a lot of things in life that you just have to learn through or get advice for. And I would love to give that advice now before I forget, because I'm going to get older and new things are going to come and new phases are going to pass and life moves on. So I just thought that this would be a great way to capture where I am right now in life. And honestly, I'm doing it for me. And at the end of the day, I really would say my entire motto on life right now is racehorse with blinders on. I'm running as fast as I can for whatever I want to do, should do, can do, and feeling like doing. Like, honestly, at this point, I don't even have a plan. People ask me, I'm like, I don't have a plan. I'm just seeing where the wind takes me. And I think that that's the way life should be lived. And I'm really enjoying it because I used to be a really overplanned person. And I started a podcast. Who would have thought that? But here we are, and welcome. I'm so happy if you're still here. But yeah, honestly, the real answer of why I started a podcast and why now is that it's always been something that is on brand for me, I guess. If you know me as a person, you know that I'm a yapper. I love to talk and I love to record every moment of my life. So those two things corresponding basically makes a podcast. So everyone in my life was not really shocked. However, I think that outsiders looking in, for me, it's really personally about the fact that I do not care about anybody else and their opinions at this point in life. Like, life is too short. Time is too fast to be wasted. I don't care. I'm doing what I want to do, and I'm going to do it now because time is only going to get faster and life's only going to get busier, and why not do it now? So yeah, that's my honest reason, is that I just thought, why not do it now? And that I need to go ahead and start acting on things I want to do. Instead of being a watcher, I'm going to be a doer. So yeah, I'm being a doer. Welcome to my podcast. Full transparency, if you're watching, I have a new outfit on, and it is a completely different day because when I was filming this podcast the first time, in true first episode fashion, I forgot to hit record during this portion of the episode. So we're just going to re-record it and we're going to try again, but we're keeping it frank here, so I had to let you guys know. So it's going to be same thoughts, round 2, maybe a little bit better. Let's get back into it. I have to sneeze. Whoa. Okay, fun fact. I sneeze like 8 times in a row every single time. It's always just like that. One thing about me is I'm 20 years old, and another thing you're going to learn very quickly about me is I'm a little bit OCD. So in true OCD fashion, I'm going to answer 20 questions because I'm 20 years old and give you guys a little bit of a feel for who I am, what I value, and just answer some fun questions so you can get to know me a bit. Question 1, what is one thing that people don't expect about you? And I would say the biggest thing that people wouldn't expect about me is that I did weightlifting in high school. I was on the girls' weightlifting team my senior year, and I qualified for regionals. I couldn't go because I had something else that day, but I could pause bench 115 pounds at one point, which honestly, I look back and I think that's really impressive because I haven't seen the inside of a gym in probably 3 months. The next question is, what is a random skill you have? And all my friends know this and probably hate this, but a random skill that I have is doing a headstand and holding it. I've never actually timed it, but probably until I pass out. especially when we are out with friends or at a restaurant or in public places. I love to whip out the headstand. I just think it's a crowd pleaser. Like, that is my party trick, is the headstand. And I'll put a photo of it in, or a video of it on the Instagram, because I think it needs its own moment. But you guys got to go check that out at the Frankly Flowers podcast Instagram. I will put a video of me headstanding on there because everybody deserves to see it, and I could teach any of you. It's really easy. Okay, this is a little bit of like a different note, but what is one thing that everyone loves that I hate? I know these are really controversial, so everybody take a deep breath before I say this, but I can't stand soda. I've never tried most sodas, to be honest, but I don't really like the carbonation. So I've never tried Coke, Pepsi, Diet Coke, Diet Pepsi, any of the above, really. Root beer, I can't even think of other ones. I've tried Fanta, but I think that's about it. And I like Fanta, so I guess I don't hate all soda, but for the most part, I'm anti-soda. And also, on that note, this one's definitely more controversial, so please hold my hand while I say this. I don't like Chipotle. I don't like the smell of Chipotle. I don't like people eating Chipotle around me. And it wasn't always like this. I used to love Chipotle, and I don't know if I ate it too much, if I had a fixation and got obsessed with it till I got sick of it. Like, I don't know if the smell just changed, but I cannot stand it. Like, when people are eating it around me, it just grosses me out. And I feel really bad because I know everyone loves Chipotle, but I just can't get behind it. And I've tried really hard, but the only thing I can get there is like a kid's quesadilla. And at that point, I can make a quesadilla at home. So soda and Chipotle are my hot takes, but those are two things that I just can't get behind. Sorry. Okay, the next question's on a little bit of a deeper note. So it's, what is a core memory that shaped who you are? And I have a lot of these. I'd say the main one is probably spending every Thanksgiving at my family's house in Alabama, and all of my family would travel and stay together during Thanksgiving. We'd do this big dinner the night before, and then we all had Thanksgiving together, and it was the same every year. And then we go shooting after Thanksgiving. We just go shoot at targets in the backyard, and it was just the tradition of it. I loved the consistency. And I also loved that instilled a really strong sense of like family and community in me from a really young age. I loved being around my family, and I always looked forward to Thanksgiving. It was my favorite holiday up until probably college, because I just loved that I got to see everyone, that I got to catch up with everyone, and I loved seeing my family and being together because my family's not close by, and so I don't get to do that very often. And I think that really shaped me as a person and really instilled a value for community and for family in me, and I always look for community, and I really try to keep that in my life really active. On the same note, this is, what is some advice you would give your 16-year-old self, or looking back, what would you tell your 16-year-old self? And I have a lot of things I would tell 16-year-old me. That was 4 years ago at this point, so it's been a little bit. But I think the biggest thing I would tell myself, or any 16-year-olds out there that may be an overachiever type A like myself, is do less for other people, do more for you, and reassess what you're doing in life, and make sure that you're doing things that bring you joy, and that you're not just doing things from an outsider perspective, as in like you're not doing things for appreciation or for trophies or for admiration or for a pat on the back. All of those are exterior motives. So if you don't have any interior motives to do what you're doing, to be in that club, to join that sport, to hang out with that kid, then don't do it, because at the end of the day, it's your life. And even though you're 16 and there's a lot of people telling you what you need to do and what you should do, you have a say, and nothing is ever that serious. Nothing ever matters that much. So I would tell 16-year-old me and any other 16-year-olds to do more things for you, have more fun, and think less about what other people are going to think about what you're doing, and more about how you feel about yourself and how you feel about your schedule and your life, because it's your life and you want to be happy. And I think at 16, I was a big tryhard, I was a big sweat, I was a big overachiever, goody two shoes, whatever you want to say, all of the things. But I did all of the things because I wanted people to pat me on the back, and I wanted to be able to go into pageant interviews and compete with all of the girls who were also doing all the things. But at the end of the day, a lot of those things I was doing didn't bring me joy, and I don't even know why I did them at the time. Like, looking back, I just feel bad associations with those things because I didn't want to do them. I was doing them for other people, or to be able to put it on a resume and say I did it, which is never what you should do anything for. And I think that's a really important lesson for all 16-year-olds. Just reevaluate your life, do more for you, and don't ever make a decision based on someone else. It's your life. You're the one living it. So act like it. On to some more fun questions. This next one is, what is a delusional dream that you had when you were little that you still think might come true? So when I was little, I used to tell people I wanted to be famous, and that was like the goal. I didn't know how or where or when. I couldn't sing. I wasn't that good of a dancer. I didn't win any major pageants, so I'm not sure where I thought I was going to be famous, but I just said I did. Oh, I also had a YouTube channel that never got more than 200 views, and they were all me. So I don't know where I thought I was going to get famous, but that was always the goal, and it was very delusional. But a small part of me still thinks, not that I'm going to be famous, but that I could be an influencer one day. And I think I should be an influencer one day, not because I think I deserve it or I think anything makes me better than anyone else, but really just because I think we need more influencers that are frank and real and honest, and who not only speak their mind and speak the truth, but who advocate for those who don't have a voice and don't have a platform. And as someone who has experienced a lot of different avenues of the world and talked to and sat with and ate with people from all walks of life, I feel like I could really bring some realness to that influencer space. And I think the world needs more real. So honestly, is it going to happen? Probably not. But I think it's more realistic now than it was when I was younger. The next question is, what is one belief you had to let go of in order to grow? And I think the biggest belief I had to let go of in order to grow was that there's a linear path to success, or that there's one way to be rich and have a happy, successful life. I have a lot of lawyers in my family, which is really a blessed thing to have so many people in your family that are so highly educated. And I feel so lucky. But also at that same time, my dad's a banker, my mom's a lawyer. So I've always seen people with higher levels of education past college. So for me, it was really hard to envision myself ever being successful and being able to make a living if I didn't become a doctor or a lawyer. And my parents didn't instill that in me. They were very open with I could do whatever I wanted. But I was very hard on myself for a long time because I just wanted to be successful. And so up until even like last year, my freshman year of college, I was dead set on the fact that I was going to be a lawyer. I said I wanted to be first a family, no, I never wanted to be family law, sorry. I said first I wanted to be a criminal attorney, and then my uncle was like, you want to defend criminals? And I was like, maybe not. So then I thought I wanted to be just like a prosecutor, like my uncle and my grandfather. They live in a small town, so they do all types of law, and I thought that would be fun. And then I was thinking maybe real estate, because that's where all the money is, but boring. Finally, last year, before I started my business, I was thinking about doing advertising law and going to law school and then fighting for copyright and different advertising companies, because I was really interested in ads and social media at the time. And I thought that would be a way to bring my passion into a career that I could actually have a success in and have a linear way of success. But I realized that I don't want to be a lawyer, and it doesn't make sense to spend all that money to go to law school when I don't have a passion to enforce the law. I just want to be a creator and just be creative and do fun things, and I don't want to spend another 3 years studying for what? A law degree that I may or may not use because I'm not passionate about it. Like, I think it's so worth it if you're someone that wants to be a lawyer and is passionate about it, and I have so many amazing lawyers in my family. However, I don't think that's my path, and it took me a long time to see that and to accept that, because I thought that that was the only way I was going to be successful, and I was really dead set on I was just going to be a lawyer because that's what I was going to be. That's all there was to it. I never thought much about it. I really like this next question. It is, what is one thing that people get wrong about you? And the most common thing I think that I tell people and they're surprised by is the fact that I was not always this outgoing and outspoken. And I used to be a very, very shy kid. In middle school, I ate lunch in the bathroom by myself because I was too scared to ask to sit with anyone. I thought everybody didn't like me. I thought I was immediately being judged. I just assumed that people thought the worst of me. And so I never gave myself a chance to get out there and even try. And so I would spend lunch in the bathroom eating there. And not only was I eating in there, but you had like APs who would come to see if kids were hiding in the bathroom skipping class. So not only was I eating like lunch in the bathroom, but I was like hiding from these teachers coming to look for kids skipping class. Because if I got caught, they'd probably think I was skipping class, not lunch, because who skips lunch? Valid. I knew that at the time, but I also would rather go sit in there and risk getting caught and go into the office than have to face the lunchroom, which is really sad when I say that. And I'm not saying that to be like, oh, woe is me, but it's true. And that is a part of my story. And that got me to where I am today is I realized I don't want to feel like that again. I never want to feel like I walk into a room and don't feel welcomed. And I also realized that I never want anyone else to feel like that. And that's a big basis of why I created this podcast, to create a space for people. And it's also a big basis of how I live my life, is just to bring joy to other people and to be nice and be kind and go out of your way. Because at the end of the day, do what you can. You never know what's going on in anyone else's life. And so I think that really was a growing lesson for me, but it is something that when I tell people, they don't believe me, because it sounds very cliche and I fully understand that, but it is true. And I fully blocked that out for a while, but I can admit that now because I have no shame in that, because at the end of the day, I know there's probably a kid out there who is right now sitting in the bathroom and thinks that they're going to be sitting in the bathroom for the rest of their school days. But guess what? You don't have to make that your reality. You just need to step up and figure out what you want with your life and then take control of it. Because at the end of the day, it wasn't that people didn't like me. It's that I was too scared to let them get to know me. I was too scared to let them dislike me. And you got to try. So that's just a message out there to anyone who may be struggling with that. I've been there and I've grown from that. And it did take 4 years of pageants and being forced in uncomfortable situations. But you have to put yourself out there. You're never going to grow if you don't try. So yeah, that's something people don't really expect about me, because I never shut up now and I make a friend everywhere I go. But that really just comes from practice and from the fact that I don't feel as intimidated and scared by people anymore. And that took a lot of time and a lot of growing to do. What is one guilty pleasure you refuse to feel guilty about? Currently playing Fortnite mobile on my phone, OG version of course, until I get a victory royale. I don't care how long it takes. If it takes 10 hours, if it takes 10 days, we're going to stay. I'm getting a victory royale. So that's my guilty pleasure right now. I love Fortnite. But I feel like that would hit its peak in like my 6th or 7th grade, middle school years. So I think it's funny that it's coming back, because my mom always said everything always comes back around, and she was right. Fortnite's back. So get mobile. Next, I'm going to give you guys my first of many pieces of friendship advice. My biggest red and green flag in a friend. So I'd say my biggest red flag is someone who doesn't support you or preys on your downfall. I think those kind of fall in the same category, but it's really just if you have someone in your life that when you come to them with excitement or with ideas, they shoot you down, or when you are doing something great, they're not cheering you on. I think you got to take note of that and take a step back, because you don't need that energy in your life. Simple as that. And then I think my biggest green flag in friends are people who ask questions about your life and who are actually genuinely interested and who remember what you told them the next time you talk, because it shows they were engaged in that conversation. And people that just like check in. I'm not the best at texting and calling all the time, but I love just like texting my friends randomly and being like, hey, I was thinking about you, love you, or just like random calls. I think a green flag is having low maintenance friendships and being able to not text 25/8, but also still be friends and still know that you guys are good. That's maturity, and that's a big green flag for me in my adult friendships right now. Okay, this next question I thought of, and I thought it'd be fun. So what does being frank mean to me? And so for me, being frank means not being afraid to take up space when you walk into a room, being your authentic self and not being a chameleon, I'd say. So not adjusting to the vibe in the room or who's around you, just being authentically you. My favorite thing is say it with your chest. So I think being frank is also not being afraid to say it with your chest. Say it like you mean it. If you got something to say it with your whole heart, because I'm listening and everyone else should be too. What makes me feel most like me? I would say laughing and reminiscing with my friends. That is my favorite thing at college, is nights in at my apartment where we play games, hang out, talk, think back on old memories, like reminisce on the crazy stories we've already created. And just like that sense of community and love and friendship is something that I love, and I feel so at peace and at home when I have that around me. The next question is, if your life was a movie, what would the title be? And the OGs will get the reference, but I'm just gonna say it, no context. Maddie fucking Flowers. In parentheses, the original, because we all know there's gonna be a sequel. I'm only 20, guys. We got lots of years left to live. So it would be Maddie fucking Flowers, the original. Moving on. What is your most controversial opinion? Okay, guys, I'm not saying this to be mean. I'm saying this to be honest. Sorry. My friends know I say this a lot. You cannot be mean and ugly. Pick a struggle. And I'm not saying this to spread hate. I think you should be nice and everyone's beautiful in their own way. However, if you're a not nice person and you go out of your way to make others' days bad and you go out of your way to be rude to people and wreak havoc in the world, just do me a favor, look in the mirror a little longer this morning and make sure that you did your hair and put your makeup on if you're going to act like that. If you want to just be a nice person, don't worry about it. Listen, everyone's beautiful. Kindness is beautiful. But all I'm going to say is if you're going to be a jerk and if you're going to go around making others' lives miserable, do me a favor, make sure you look good that day. Because the first thing I'm going to say is pick a struggle. And you may or may not know what I mean, but pick a struggle. You can't be ugly and mean. Just be nice. That solves it. Then you don't have any struggles. What is your love language? I would say my love language is acts of service. If I love you and if you're a present person in my life, you best believe I'm baking you treats and trying new recipes for you. I'm making your bed. I'm writing you little notes. Like, I just love to show the people I love that I love them, and I like to cater that to the person. So I'm staying with my grandma this summer and she's done so much for me. So when she cleans the dishes and leaves for the day, I unload the dishwasher because doing that for her is something that I can take off her plate and it shows that I love her and I appreciate her. And so just little things like that, I would say I love doing that. In honor of girlhood, we're going to talk about a girl era that I lived through as in like survived through, and still am a little bit embarrassed by. So first, we have two because I have a lot of these, but we're just going to do two. First was the bow era in middle school. My friends still don't let me live that down. Layla, I'm looking at you. I wore a big bow that matched my polo every day of middle school because in elementary school, I was a tomboy. So then I hit my girly girl era in like middle school and I got so made fun of for it. But I didn't care. I just wore my bow. So my bow era is still a little bit humbling to me because I was like 14 wearing a big bow. And then I would say my other most humbling girl era that I still get made fun of for is my YouTuber era. I share this with most people because I think it's funny and I am not embarrassed by it that much, but I do get made fun of a lot for it, like jokingly. However, I did have a YouTube channel from 8 to 15, which is a really long time, which is why I make fun of myself for it because I was really committed to it. But I had this YouTube channel. I started with my best friend when I was little, and we made all sorts of videos, like parodies. I made singing videos, dancing videos. My favorite is a video of me dancing to Shake It Off. If this podcast gets over 2,000 views, I will post the video of me dancing to Shake It Off from YouTube publicly on TikTok and Instagram because it's really humbling, but it's also hilarious, and I think that you guys would really enjoy it. I think I was like 8, and I made 4 outfit changes. The music's playing on my TV in the background. My poor dog was an unpaid actor the whole time. I'm doing cartwheels, falling on my face. I got stuck on the couch at one point, and I did the Harlem Shake. So that's just like a summary for you. So tell your friends to watch so I can post that video for you guys. If this gets over 2,000 views, then I'll share it. But yeah, those are my eras. I lived through them and they still make me laugh and cringe. I love this next question. Thank you, ChatGTP. If you were a charm in your charm bar, what would you be? So if I was a custom charm, I think I would be a rhinestoned microphone with a hot pink crown on top. The microphone, because I love to talk and obviously, I'm doing the podcasting thing now. Rhinestones because I'm in my girly era. Hot pink because pink's my favorite color. The crown has dual meaning. It represents the pageants that I did for 5 years that really brought me out of my shell. And it represents Zeta Tau Alpha, my sorority at Florida State. Zlam, go crown. It has dual meaning and I think that'd be a super cute charm. So if I ever get to custom create one, it'll be a rhinestone microphone with a hot pink crown on it. Okay, the next question is, what is one thing that you're so glad you didn't overthink? Starting my business, best decision I've ever made, and I'm really glad that I didn't overthink it or ask too many opinions on it, that I just let my gut lead and trusted myself, and that I chose to be brave and launch it only 5 months into starting the idea instead of waiting and analyzing every detail and making it perfect, which is something that I'm very prone to doing because I'm a perfectionist. So I'm just glad that I decided to be brave and take that leap of faith, because it paid off and it turned out so much better than being perfect could have. And I know that for a fact. The next one is not a question, but I really want to put this in the episode. So I wanted to share a fun fact about the Frank Flowers, my English bulldog, who this podcast is named after, kind of. And he doesn't bark. Not like he doesn't bark at all, but he just doesn't make a noise that sounds like a bark. He kind of sounds like a parakeet. So I'm just going to play it for you because I can't really describe it. Here you go. I would describe it as a chirp, maybe a squeal, if you will. That's not a dog. I'd have to show you a video. You guys are going to have to see the dog to believe that's the noise he makes, because he weighs 78 pounds. It's a big boy to make that noise, but I guess he doesn't have much room for the vocal cords. Okay, so the last question I'm going to answer on 20 questions at 20 years old is, what is one memory that lives in your head rent-free in like a cringy way? So I'm going to share this one. I think one memory that really stuck out to me when I saw this question was the day I got baptized. I got baptized on November 13th, 2022. I decided to get baptized on November 11th, 2022, 2 days before, because I was at a conference with my church and it really changed my life and really changed my viewpoint. I texted all my family like the day before and said, hey, I'm getting baptized at the church. And I'm the only one in my family that goes to this church. And I texted them all and asked them to come because it was important to me. My aunt was in the hospital. She said she'd try her best. My parents said they try their best. Come Sunday, when I got baptized, my whole family was there. My aunt, who had just got out of the hospital the day before, and her whole family had made it. My parents were there. My dad doesn't even go to church, but he made sure to show up because I was getting baptized and it was important to me. On top of that, I remember I got dipped into the water and I come out and I threw up my hands like I had just won the battle. I felt euphoric in that moment. And then I got out of the water, and all of my friends from youth group, all my mentors, and the people who had guided me to that moment and really grown my relationship with God over the past year gave me the biggest group hug you've ever seen. I have a photo of it and it was the sweetest moment. And I just remember like that hug, just pure awe and pure happiness, because not only was I baptized and made new in God's eyes, my whole family was there to support me, not the baptism, to support me. And I got the biggest and best hug ever from all these people who had helped me make this decision and had led me to this point in my life. So it was a really special day. And I just remember the whole day feeling on cloud nine and like, I can't believe this is real. And I know the date because it was such a special day for me. And it's a little cringy. So it's like, okay, your baptism, and also like that's a little bit TV show-esque, but it was really sweet. And it was genuinely, I would say the best way to describe it is I felt so loved that day. And I just remember I kept saying, I just feel so loved. And I had friends from school come to surprise me. And that whole day, I just felt so overwhelmingly loved, supported. I really felt God's presence in my life that day. So I would say that's my cringy moment that I'm constantly reflecting on. So I hope you guys enjoyed this little portion called 20 questions with a 20-year-old. And I hope you got to know me a little bit more. I tried to pick a wide array of questions so that I could cover on a lot of topics, give some advice, talk a little about me, share a little bit about my past, and give a little bit of insight into the future of this podcast. And I hope that I did that well. But we're going to go ahead because I have one more segment for you to get to know me before we move on. So now that you know 20 things about me, I want to take a second to look back. Not at the big shiny moments, but at the small ones that didn't make sense until they did. I want to talk about full circle moments. I'm a big believer in everything happens for a reason and the butterfly effect. I believe that your life has a purpose and it's drawn out, and that every step you take guides you to where you're meant to be. And so I really just want to look back and talk to you guys about some of the moments where I didn't really see the vision. And looking back now at 20, I see that those are full circle moments because they turned out just how they were meant to be. And so I want to share some of those for you guys. One, to give you more insight into me, but also just to share with you that life blossoms in its own time, and also to give you a little hope that if things aren't going your way, things may be working out in their own time and you just don't realize it. I want to share this with you guys because I thought it was a really cool concept, and I have a lot of full circle circle moments because I've been really present in my life lately, trying to take note of the things that excite me, inspire me, and take note of the ways that God is acting in my life. You may not be religious, but for me, that's how I see it. And so take note in the way that God's moving and my life is playing out in his plan. I just want to share some of those full circle moments with you guys. I also wanted to share this because I hope sharing some of my full circle moments make you guys think about yours. Sometimes life doesn't come at a roar. It gives us a whisper and it takes us a while to realize, oh, that's what was coming all along. So I hope that you guys can reflect and maybe see some of your full circle moments by hearing mine. Okay, my first full circle moment is that I obviously told you guys I was very shy and I ate lunch in the bathroom in middle school. I started competing in scholarship pageants at 15, so in 8th grade, peak shyness, and they really brought me out of my shell. My first few interviews during pageants, you have to do a private interview with a panel of 5 to 7 judges, and they sit and you stand in front of a clear podium while they ask you a press conference style of questions, which is very intimidating at 14 years old while you're standing in a dress and heels with your hair and makeup done. And they're asking you about your resume that you just made a week ago. So let's just say after those first few interviews, I cried and I was very unhappy with how I did. I'm a perfectionist. That doesn't mean I did bad, but I really struggled with the interview. I found it really intimidating. I didn't like it. I didn't want to talk. I didn't want to share. And a full circle moment was, I think it was my second to last year competing. I was a junior in high school and I won the interview award for the entire pageant. So out of 33 girls, I won the interview award and the judges scored me the highest for interview, which was amazing to me because to think that I went from the girl who wouldn't even talk to people in the lunchroom and who cried like big girl tears after her first few interviews at 15 is now on a state stage, which is much bigger and has much more people watching with a much stricter set of judges. And I won an award because they heard me and they listened to me and they thought that I was real and raw and honest. That's all you really need to be. And so for me, that was a full circle moment of all this time I was trying so hard and getting so upset because I wasn't perfect. And all the judges really wanted was for me to be real. I started winning and doing well when I was real. And I won that interview award because I went in there and I was honest with those judges. And I told them about me and my life and my goals and why I wanted to be Miss Florida's teen. I spent years apologizing for taking up space. I was the girl teachers told to go take your ADHD meds. My friends always told me I was too loud, too much, too excited, too out there. And so I tried to fit myself into these boxes and these walls and be like everybody else and be more quiet, more tame, more prim, more proper, and all the things that I thought would make people like me more. But now I've claimed a whole space, a whole podcast for me. This is my space and I'm not shrinking anymore. I'm done with that. So it's nice to look back and know that I'm no longer the girl that assesses the room before she makes a move to make sure that she's not going to be judged immediately or taken as too much from the second she enters the room. And that's something that really was a struggle for me for a long time, was trying really hard to assess the room and make sure that I could be myself. And to this day, it's so nice to have friends where I say things and I feel like I'm putting myself out there. And then they just immediately are like, oh my God, I have the same thing. Or I totally agree. That is the best feeling in the world. And it's something that I didn't know for a long time because I was too busy shrinking and too scared to take up space. Last summer, I walked into a charm bar in Maine and I felt something shift. I had no idea that that little store was going to change my life. Within a few months, I started my own version of the store, linked Tallahassee Charm Bar, based in Florida. And with no guidance, no mentor, and no starting point, I essentially built a business from scratch at 19 years old, was profitable within 5 months. Now, a year later, I'm back in Maine mentoring for the woman who unknowingly laid out the blueprint for my business. And it's just such a full circle moment, not only being here, but getting to learn from the exact person who I sat down and talked with and whose confidence inspired me to start my own business. Guys, that is not just a full circle moment. That is manifestation with receipts. Thank you. One of the biggest risks I've ever taken was saying yes to doing long distance after, one, swearing I would never do long distance, and two, only dating the boy for a month. He was a senior in high school, and I was going into my freshman year of college at Florida State University, which is a known party school. So rumor on the street was that either he was going to cheat on me, I was going to cheat on him. We were 9 hours apart, so we were doing long distance. He was trying to live out his senior year, which is a big year, and I was trying to live out my freshman year of college, which is also a big year. At the end of the day, we took that risk. The full circle moment is last year we spent the year together, his freshman year, my sophomore year of college. We made it through long distance. All those hours and FaceTime calls and long drives were worth it. Now we're celebrating 2 years next month. So it really just goes to show when you know, you know. I would do it all over again for him. I adore him. My boyfriend's name is Hunter, and he's an angel if you're watching, which I know you are because he's the most supportive king in the world. I love you. Mwah. Anyways, this podcast has incited a lot of full circle moments for me and really made me reminisce and realize how far I've come. To start, the girl who used to eat lunch in the bathroom because she didn't think she was cool enough, was too scared to put herself out there, now speaks into a mic like she owns the room. I am so insanely proud of that growth, and I'm so proud of how hard I worked to gain that confidence and to find my voice, because it took me a long time. But here we are, and I'm never shutting up. Sorry. Another podcast full circle moment is that I started a YouTube channel with my best friend when I was 8, filming in our backyards on our iPads, editing on iMovie with transitions, and I thought I gave that up. But now here I am again with a camera, a mic, and iMovie, editing my podcast and sharing my voice with the world again, because I've always had something to say. I just didn't know how to say it, and I found my voice again. I also remember in middle school wishing that someone would see me, not for what my body looked like, what I wore, or who I talked to, but for me. And now with this podcast, I'm creating space for people to be seen and people to be real and vulnerable and honest. And that's something that I have always yearned for. The fact that I'm doing it just feels really full circle. Okay, I have one more, and this is on like a lighter note. It's also kind of a fun fact, but I learned to surf at 6 years old. My dad taught me in Florida. I was born and raised, so we have surfboards. And my dad taught me at 6. That's when I caught my first wave. And ever since I was 6, it was a dream of mine to surf in Hawaii because I just heard Hawaii had the best waves. We all saw Lilo and Stitch, right? Yeah. So I always wanted to go surfing in Hawaii. And I actually went on a trip to Hawaii with my angel boyfriend Hunter and his mom and her boyfriend Steve. It was the best trip of my life. And I got to check off that bucket list of surfing in Hawaii. So me and Hunter actually took surf lessons on his birthday, which was so fun because got to show him up on his birthday. Just kidding. He did great. He was the best surfer I've ever seen. And it's very impressive how a man like that can balance on a surfboard. But anyways, I felt really full circle after that surf lesson with him because, one, I not only got to check off my dream bucket list of surfing in Hawaii, but I got to do it with the love of my life and my best friend. And it was just so exciting because it was his first time surfing and my first time checking off a lifelong bucket list item. So for both of us, it was really special. And to share that experience was even more special. I just remember sitting on the beach after that surf lesson, exhausted because surfing is really tiring, thinking little Maddie would be so happy right now. I can't believe this is real. I can't believe I just surfed in Hawaii. It seems so simple, but that is the coolest thing ever. And I feel so lucky and so blessed that I was able to make that dream a reality and that I was able to experience the beautiful waves and ocean of Hawaii and surf. I caught a wave in Hawaii. How cool is that? It might not be that cool, but to me, that is like, I'm going to put that in my obituary. Caught a wave in Hawaii. So whenever my kids are writing this, write that down. Mom caught a wave in Hawaii. Those are all of my full circle moments I can think of right now, but I definitely have more, and I would love to hear some of you guys in the comments. And I would love if you guys could take a moment to reflect, because I think we all have a full circle moment that we may not be realizing. Full circle moments, I think, are really about taking a step back and being grateful for the journey that gets us to the destination. I think a lot of times we focus on the destination and getting where we want to go, but when we look at those full circle moments, we realize that that hard process and that fight the whole way uphill to when we finally got to see that beautiful view was so worth it. And you don't really appreciate the view unless you take the long hike, right? Or at least that's what I think. If you guys would take a moment and think about your full circle moments, I think it might make you a little bit more grateful for how life's guided you and for where you are today. All right, so let's talk format real quick. You guys, I'm going to try and keep these episodes under an hour, but I talk a lot. So for certain topics, I know for a fact I'm going to go on for more than an hour. But we'll see. We'll keep it around an hour, and I'm going to release new episodes every Tuesday. You can find us on Spotify podcasts, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube at the Frankly Flowers podcast. You can also find us on all social medias. We have Instagram, TikTok, and an email, so more to come. It's the Frankly Flowers podcast at gmail.com. So if you guys are ready, you're gonna hear deep combos, a little bit of humor if anybody but me finds me funny, a whole lot of chaos, and a whole lot of honesty. If you've made it to this point in the podcast, first of all, I love you. Second of all, you might as well like and subscribe, because I'm guessing you're either my family member or maybe you actually like this content, and I'm super pumped to have you here. So we're going to do a little segment I'm calling the Frankly Speaking segment. It's going to be a little point where at the end of the podcast, I just give you some frank advice. So frankly speaking, and then I'll give you some advice. I am going to start that today, and we're going to do it at the end of every episode because I've learned a lot of wisdom. Some of these will be my piece of advice. Some will be from other people. Some will just be dumb little mantras that you can use to inspire yourself, because we all love a good mantra. Frankly speaking, I saw this quote on TikTok a few days ago, but I'm going to pretend that it is a Maddie original. So I would say the first quote, frankly speaking, is that you should not take constructive criticism from people who have never constructed anything. Let that set in for a moment. Why would you take constructive criticism from people who have never constructed anything? Yeah, that's what I thought too. I was like, dang, got me there. I don't know what I've been doing all these years. And on that same note, this one I also probably saw on TikTok, but gonna pretend it's me too. Maddie Flowers, frankly speaking, don't waste energy explaining to those who can't hear the music. Just keep dancing. Same note, but a little bit more vibey. It's just like, why am I gonna explain to you my vision if you don't see it? I'm just gonna do it. And if you see it when it happens, cool. If not, I'm gonna just keep doing my thing kind of vibe. And that's really just like on the note that, like, for me personally, I think the best thing you can learn in life is that, like, haters are not my motivators. Haters should not motivate you. Like, that should be a little bit of like an inconvenience in your life and a little bit of like, I wonder why they hate me, like, to you. I don't think that like people hating you is like motivating. I just personally feel like that's just something I don't want to surround myself with. If you hate me, like, cool, don't be around me. Like, hate me from afar, go for it. But like, I personally feel like you should surround yourself with people that feel like light and people that feel like a breath of fresh air when life is drowning you with waves. When you are in the depths of it and when you are struggling, find people that always feel like a bright light or always feel like a breath of fresh air. Because at the end of the day, life's going to get hard and you're going to need that a heck of a lot more than you're going to need someone sitting behind your back constantly preying on your downfall. Life is too short to surround yourself with haters, okay? Don't keep your enemies closer, bro. Keep them far away. You don't need that energy. Keep your enemies really far away and keep your circle really tight and your inner circle really close, because those are the people you want to know that you can go to with ideas and know that you can go to when you have a problem or when you don't believe in yourself. And they're going to say, hey, you can totally do this. Like, I don't know what you're talking about. You've always been able to do this. Or, hey, I'm so proud of you. Or like, you're doing great. Or like, I don't know what you're talking about. This is an easy fix. You're just overthinking it. Like, those are the people you want in your life, not the people who are like, yeah, you're right, I'd give up, or who don't see the vision or who are constantly questioning you. Don't explain yourself. Just keep moving. Move on. All right, if you've made it to the end, I see you, I love you, and thank you. If you enjoyed this and you want to see more videos like this, we are now streaming on all podcasting platforms. You can see us on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify at the Frankly Flowers podcast. And if you want to follow along for updates and see photos like me and my little boy face, you can go follow our Instagram and our TikTok at the Frankly Flowers pod. And I can't wait to keep you guys updated. I can't wait to bring you along on this ride. I think this is gonna be something really special. And I already have a lot of great episodes I'm looking forward to where I give advice. I have some really cool guests on. We take a chance to listen and learn from each other instead of constantly being in a rush and a state of panic. I hope you guys enjoyed this. I hope you got to take something away from it, you learned something, or that you at least enjoyed it. Stay safe, stay frank. Bye.